Welcome, everyone, to this week's Smiling Homeschooler podcast. We're going to be starting here in just a second. Make sure everything's working okay, and then we'll get going. I had to fix my computer over the weekend, and so things are different. But want to go ahead and say something, Dad?
Hey, just checking in here to make sure we're getting about ready to go. I hope that if you're watching right now that you kind of stumbled across us and that you'll join us as we talk about homeschool co-ops. I think it's going to be a good conversation.
Yep, totally. All right, everything's looking good, so we can go ahead and get started. Actually, one second.
That reminds me I'm going to hit something too.
All right. Everything should be good now. Oh, you just disappeared.
I did?
Yeah, you're fine now.
Did I cut myself out again?
No, you're back. You're back.
Okay, because I think I accidentally hit it. Okay, I'm not ready yet. Hold on. Did I make myself go?
Yep, but it's okay.
That's weird. Am I still there?
Yeah, you are.
That's weird. I'll try to get it here. I don't know. It's just having trouble.
Thanks for bearing with us, everyone. We're just getting this stuff figured out, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Technical difficulties.
As always.
Okay, let's see.
It's good.
Hold on. No, I'm testing something else.
I might mute you then.
Oh.
I might mute you. Hi, Deborah. How's it going today? Thanks for watching.
Am I still muted?
Yeah, but it's okay.
Okay.
It's been a long last couple days. I've been sick from home from work and just feeling better here, so hopefully I'm not too deadbeat.
Hopefully.
Hi, Molly. Thanks for watching.
Okay, let's go.
All right. Go for it.
I'm not ready yet. When I was ready to go, I didn't mean ready to go right this second. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Take a deep breath. Hey, thanks for joining me, Mom. We're glad that you took some time to join us on the Smiling Homeschooler podcast. This was a big day here at the Wilson house, but it's big for me, but it's really big for Ben. Ben, you want to tell us the big news?
We finally got to find out the gender of our next baby that we're expecting in the end of January. And Riss has been dying to know and I mean me too, but I think it's even more harder for her.
I think it's fair to say it's fair to say that Riss is dying more than you are.
Yes, for sure. And we found out we're having a boy, so we're super excited about that. We have a girl currently, Renly, and they'll be almost exactly 2 years apart, so that's super fun, which is what we were kind of hoping for, because that was we thought it was a good age difference between kids, and so now we have actually a name. We can try to. I just couldn't really come up with any names without knowing if it's a boy or girl. Whereas Rissa's had lots of ideas, and
is Todd Jr. in the running?
It's not, but I think we'll at least have the same middle name as me and you. So that's
really,
cool.
Line is continuing.
That's right,
the Wilson line,
which we both have. Eric.
Exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah. So she was shocked, but I mean, I can't say I was shocked. It's I'm too much of it's a 50-50. How can you be totally surprised? But I was at least very happy because this is not my only reason, but I always kind of thought it was nice that you have even though right now no one seems to help you ever, but all the big guys who can help you do whatever you need. And I was like, man, that'd be super nice to have some sons who can help do things. Yes, not that the daughters can't, but
then they get older and then they abandon you.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Luckily, Ben lives next door, so he's back. He's back to stay. Well, it's been another big letter week. As we continue the journey of Sam and McKenna getting married. In March, they've settled on a date, so I think it's March 16th is the wedding date, and they have found a place to have it at, so that's really exciting. And McKenna found her dress, so apparently that's a big deal for brides-to-be, finding their dress. Debbie and I just got back from Oklahoma City. We were down at the Teaching Textbooks headquarters, which was super amazing. They've got a great spot in Oklahoma City. I'd tell you where it is so you could stop by and say, hey, but I'm not really sure. It's somewhere near town. How's that? But we stopped by. They've got a great group of people, and an amazing product, and they offer an amazing service. And they got some exciting news kind of coming down the pike. So you're gonna want to keep your ears out. We'll let you know. We'll let you know. On also this Thursday, this is coming out on Wednesday. On Thursday, I'm speaking in Grand Rapids at 7 o'clock at Lakeside Community Church at a homeschool group. So if you're in the area, stop by and say hey. And again, we were kind of running the September special. If you live within 100 miles of me in Milford, Indiana, you can have me speak at your group. And this group, that I'm going to speak at Thursday is taking advantage of that. They don't have to pay me anything. They're just taking a love offering, and it's going to be a great night of encouragement. And in fact, last Wednesday, I even spoke at our homeschool co-op. Which is a little awkward. Not because they're not a good bunch of people, but it's kind of like playing baseball when your parents show up. You're just hoping you don't strike out. And
don't even talk about bad baseball games. One of the most embarrassing moments of my life. We played on a city softball league this year, me and a couple of my brothers and some of our best friends. On the tournament night, we lost 0-28. So, it doesn't get much more embarrassing than that. So I can confirm that.
That's true. That's true. But Ben didn't do anything embarrassing. And I don't think Sam or Abe did either.
Sure.
I wish we had it on video. But this is this is a today. We're doing a recording at a night, so it's tonight. We're talking about homeschool co-ops. Or homeschool groups. Our homeschool co-op, the one we're a part of, we start tomorrow morning. It's the first one of the year, and the kids are excited. And I play a role in our homeschool co-op because I am the gym teacher. This is my second year to do it, and I'm a little nervous, and excited. Because I did it last year thinking, I really want to encourage the moms there because the moms have to do everything. And I thought, hey, I'm home. I'm working at home. I could go there for a couple hours and play some games with the kids. And maybe the moms could talk during that time so they didn't have to run it. And so we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. I got a whistle, and I was looking for my whistle. I got to find it by tomorrow morning. And we have two groups of kids, kind of older kids and younger kids. The older kids are like from, I don't know, third grade up, and the other ones are below that. And I'll tell you, playing games with second graders is so hard. I thought, we can play kickball. They have no clue which direction to run. And so we do a lot of balloon relays and running up and down and doing silly things because they can kind of handle that. And by the way, Dad, if you're a dad who might be listening and maybe you work out of your home, what a great way to encourage your wife and encourage your children and a bunch of other homeschool moms by volunteering to help out at the Homeschool Co-op. But let me just say about my Homeschool Co-op, it's an amazing group. My wife loves being a part of it. My kids love it. They love the before and after time. They love the in-between time, the class time. They like it all. And it's been a great addition for us because we've been a part of other groups that have not been so great overall. But here's what we're going to talk about. The question arises, should every homeschool mom be in a co-op? And of course, the answer everybody knows if you're a homeschooler and you've been listening to the show is, that's right. It's whatever you want to do. Don't let anybody guilt you into thinking that you have to be a part of a co-op if you don't want to be a part of a co-op. And if you want to, go for it. If it brings you joy and your kids enjoy it, do it. But if you're a homebody, and we had a friend who was a part of a co-op and they're like, I don't like it. My kids like being at home. And so they're not a part of one now, and that's just fine because you get to decide because you're a homeschooler, and that's the beauty of homeschooling. There are some benefits, though. You get to rub shoulders with other homeschoolers. Your kids might have some opportunities to have some friends because sometimes being a homeschooler is kind of lonely or can be kind of lonely. Especially maybe if you've pulled your kids out of school, and they're like, I don't have anybody to hang out with. Homeschool co-ops are perfect opportunities for that. It also is exactly what the name says. It's a cooperative, a co-op, that it allows you to get together and maybe pool your resources, not just in money, but in time and abilities, and pull off some things that maybe you couldn't do by yourself. I know our co-op does some amazing field trips. They might have in a special teacher to teach some things. In the past, we've had classes like sign language or woodworking. I think this year they're doing an ag class only in northern Indiana. They're going to do drama. Or maybe it's a subject that you don't feel comfortable teaching. And that's a kind of a benefit. You don't have to go it alone. But as I was thinking about co-ops, I was thinking, what if you're not a part of a co-op and you're thinking, I've been wanting to, this is what I would look for in a co-op. I believe that you should find a co-op or a group that is like-minded with you. You think that every homeschooler homeschools for the same reason you do? Not true. There are a variety of reasons for homeschooling. Here's what I would do. The last 4 weeks on the podcast, we've been talking about some important things. Those are the things that I would want to make sure that if I was going to be a part of a homeschool co-op, that they also believe. Now, maybe they're not as strong on some of them, but they ought to believe these 4 things. Remember what they are? I feel like this is class. Remember the first one, home is the best place for your kids? They ought to believe that. There are some homeschool groups that say, no, home's an okay place if this works for you, or you can go do this. But I want to be a part of one that says, no, home is the best place for our kids. And number 2, the parents are the best teachers of your children. That's what I would want the other moms to believe that. I want them to believe that every child is a masterpiece. I want them to believe that the most important part of is relationship. So I want to find a group, number 1, that's like-minded. Number 2, that is real, and that allows moms to have, talk time, share time, where they might be able to talk over certain areas of school, or maybe they're just talking about how hard it is to be a homeschooling mom, or how hard it is to be a wife. I know it is. And that's what my wife's favorite part of our homeschool co-op is. She likes the things for our kids, and she likes that the kids like it. But what she likes is the time where the kid, or where she gets interaction with other moms. Because again, all you moms are the same. All you moms feel like you're failing. After I got done speaking at our little homeschool co-op, I was talking to a bunch of moms, and they all feel that. They all wonder if they're doing enough. That is common. Don't you dare pretend when you're in that homeschool co-op that everything's okay, because I know it's not. But if you pretend that everything's okay, guess what everybody else is going to do? They're going to all pretend the same thing. And you're not going to believe that they're pretending. You're going to believe that they're telling the truth. So you're going to think that they're having a great time, everything's easy, and you're going to think, I'm the only one who's falling apart. And it's just not true. And I'll tell you, by being real, sometimes when you're real first, you take that first step, all of a sudden, you've opened up this thing that everybody else can then be real. I can remember speaking at a group and at a youth group one time, and I was asked with a couple other men, hey, could you come in and tell us a time when God chastised you, or he dealt with you for not being obedient? And so, I think I went last. The first guy, his was like, one time, I got angry and God had to chastise me. And then the second guy's like, one time I wasn't very patient and God had to chastise me. And then I go and I say, I did this. And I'm like, threw up on everybody how terrible I was. And mine sounded so much worse than everybody else's. Those 2 guys came up to me afterwards separately, and they said, I did the very same thing. And I'm thinking, then why didn't you tell them? But my realness allowed them to be real with me. So you allow them to be real with you. And I should say, Ben, you were part of a co-op as a kid. Oh, how was your co-op experience?
Which one? We had lots of co-op experiences, I think, over the years. I mean, we were in, Spanish co-op where all we did was
That's right.
Spanish once a week.
I forgot that.
We did one where we were only art. That was with some of the same people, and we did that one for a year or something. And we did a long time ago at a church. It wasn't with the church, but we met with that one. I was probably 8 or 10 and 11, something like that, and we did that one for a couple of years, and I enjoyed that one. There was a couple kids that we knew and did that one. That one was, the biggest thing was I think because we traveled a lot, we didn't get plugged in quite as much as some of the groups did. But then later on, we joined another one, actually met in the same spot, and that was also one of my most embarrassing moments in my life. So you got a second one in the same episode. Is someone
what
there
happened?
Asked me to come up. It was like a math one or something, and I was like a senior or close to a senior, and I hadn't done algebra because I was doing like a business math within a couple years, and so I just I didn't use it very often, so I couldn't remember, I guess. And she's like, okay, solve this algebra problem up here in front of everyone, and I was like totally blanking, even though I remembered afterwards how to do it. Like, I mean, I could, and so I was just so embarrassed. I didn't handle it well. I just got super angry and was and looks like an idiot in front of everyone. But
and your parents probably look like idiots too.
Yeah, mom was probably mortified, but I don't know. It was bad. So that was going. But overall, I think maybe mine wasn't as big of a thing because I didn't go to it as much, but I know Rissa, her co-op was really a big influence in her life. A lot of her best friends were in one. They were all homeschooled together. They had a bunch of super like-minded people, which is huge, like Dad said. So they didn't have this feeling of, oh, well, you're just doing doing school in your pajamas and not uniforms. Well, then you're obviously not a true homeschooler. They all were very similar in that way. But what do you think? I've heard some people think that without a co-op, they wouldn't be able to homeschool because they can't teach them everything. Like, they're like, well, I don't know how Spanish, so how do I teach them Spanish? So what do you think in that regards?
Well, here's my thinking about that. Your kids are going to be okay with Spanish. Remember that second point we did about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where we said God gave your children exactly the parents they needed. You are qualified to teach your children the things that they need for the important things. Yes, of course, there are things you're not going to know. Ike learned how to weld. I'd never welded in my whole life. So together, he and I and someone else went and we had someone teach him how to weld. That might work in a co-op, but you don't have to feel like you need someone else to do everything, to do those parts that you don't have. You might have to find some other resources. But again, that a co-op can help in that. But if the co-op's not your thing, don't feel the pressure of like, oh man, I got to get them in this because that's the only way they're going to learn that. It's not true. It's not true. Hey, let me finish my list here. So I would pick a co-op where they are like-minded. They believe the same things we do. So I may not pick a super academic one because that's not what my desires are. Or if I'm into unit studies, maybe I'm going to find one that's more into unit studies. Or, it might be something else. I would have one that gave me talk time, that would allow us to share things. And then I would find one that didn't put pressure on me, because I'm talking to moms and they're getting a lot of pressure from within their group, so I don't want one where attendance is mandatory, even though I understand there are homeschool groups that say, hey, you can miss 3, but if you miss the 4th one, you're out. Hey, that's great. You can do that, but I'm not looking for that group. I don't want one where I have to participate, and by this, I'm more saying my children. Because I know there are some groups where everybody has to give up and give a presentation. I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of the show and tell groups. I know you might like that. Hey, that's great. If your kids respond to that, that's great. Here's the deal. I know that of all my kids have been in co-ops, not every kid responds to that. Ben was great at standing up and talking. I don't know, Ben, you did that. Did it feel really hard for you, or did it come pretty natural? It looked natural for you.
I was just I just forgot about that. I mean, at the time, obviously, it was beforehand. It was, you're nervous and everything, but I've always thrived off of it once I'm actually doing it. It's just the lead up that's always scary. But I mean, I know that some of my siblings would rather pretty much die, which I think is statistically pretty true. I think it's like 70% of people are more afraid of talking in front of people than dying. I think it is something like that.
or sharks. Yes.
Yeah, it's insane.
And that's true. And so I don't want my kids to have to feel that pressure of failure. Again, I don't let my kids always decide everything. If I think that's important for them to do, then I'll make them. But I know this. I was just having a conversation with Sean Sabori at Teaching Textbooks. We teach speech, but the percentages of people who are going to be public speakers is super, super small. And maybe we should spend our time doing some other parts of communication, whether that's just how to interact or how to express an idea, not to a group, but just to your mom or to somebody else like that. So I don't want that pressure on me as a participant to attend. Yeah, I want to go. And if I sign up for something, I'll honor that. But I don't want to have them to be taking attendance and say, well, you missed that 3 days in a row, so you can't come anymore. I don't want, participation to have to be mandatory. So, hey, if you want to do the show and tell thing, if I have 2 out of my 4 kids who want to do it, that's great. But I don't want any pressure on my 2 kids who don't want to do it, because I wouldn't want them to do it. And then lastly, I don't want a group where maybe it's mandatory that I have to teach, because the truth is not everybody is a good group teacher. And so that's scary to some. And I know, again, some people just dread that. Some people thrive off that. So they should be allowed to do it more as often as they like, but I don't want that pressure. And then I don't want a group that's going to try to determine what my kids need. I want them to take them as they are, not that their goal is not to make all my kids amazing. That's my job as the parent.
That's a big one, I think.
It's a huge one. In fact, again, I was talking to the teaching textbook people, and they were saying, that seems to be not a tenet, but a thrust of some groups, that they're trying to make every kid an amazing scholar. And the truth is, not every kid's going to be an amazing scholar. And that's okay,
because some of the moms have that mark of what amazing scholar is, and I feel like that's is like some mom is nuts about making sure her kids all know 2 languages and doing calculus by the age of like 15, right. And I feel like they think then that is the standard that all these other kids in the group need to have, and I've felt that pressure. We felt that pressure, I know, in some of the groups, and I think that's a really easy one to fall into.
Exactly. I think you're exactly right. And so, again, that's important of picking a group that's kind of like-minded. Now that you mentioned Rissa's group, I mean, they talk so fondly about it because it wasn't a real big group, but they all homeschooled kind of the same way. So that's what I would be looking for. But there's also a time, as I was just reading through a couple of the comments, I thought I saw one. I guess it disappeared. But was somebody in one of the comments said they were going to take a break this year. That's okay to take a break. In fact, if I were part of a homeschool co-op, there would be some. These are my deal breakers. These are knowing when it's time to quit a homeschool co-op. And it's super simple. It's this. Number 1, if you feel worse afterwards, after the meeting's over, then quit. If you feel like you're failing because of being in your group, or if you feel like I just don't like going because I feel lousy afterwards, quit the group. Okay, you have my permission. I am abdicating you. Quit the group. Number 2, if your children cry or make excuses because they don't want to go to the group, or they feel worse, dumb, or less than they should, then quit the group. Again, you don't have to try to tweak it. You don't have to try to change them. Just quit the group or look for a different group. Or if you feel like they are not encouraging you in the way that you would like to go. for example, and this is why my wife quit a group that she was in. She was in a group of, I don't know if Ben remembers this group. Ben was in they were in a group maybe of 15 plus moms, families, and every single one of the families had a child in the public school, at least a little bit of the time. So, not all the time. So they were all homeschoolers, but they might have like one of their kids might be taking band, or they're playing volleyball, or they're taking a science. Because in northern Indiana, I guess it's like the rest of Indiana, you can take advantage of it because that's what, we pay the taxes. We can take advantage of whatever we want. But here's where the problem was. The problem was all those moms had one foot in there, or at least a little toe into the public school, except my wife. She was the only one who didn't. And what happened is that my wife, who strongly believes the home's the best place for her kids and that she wants her kids being homeschooled and she wants them at home, not there under their influence, if she just raised a concern like, oh man, we're getting, next year we have to do whatever subject, and I'm just not sure that I can handle that, or I'm ready for that. As soon as that would come up, one of the moms would say, hey, why don't you take advantage of what the school offers? And so they kind of did that to one another until I said they all, except my wife, well, they didn't all start that way. It was like 4 or 5 that started, and then 6 and 7 and 8, until my wife was the only one. And we got to the point my wife would say, it just feels like poison. It feels like they're poisoning my mind against something that I believe so strongly. Mom, if you believe something so strongly, and you feel like that group is not encouraging you in that direction, quit. Find a different group. Don't keep going. Because here's what happens. All those moms in that group who said they believed in homeschooling, I think all those moms put their kids into public school full time. And not that it would have happened in my family, because I wouldn't let it, but it could have. It so easily could have. So anyway, those are the things, those are the things I would look for, and those would be the deal breakers, the reasons why I would leave a group. Here's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about making a thing over at our website, and maybe we'll post it up on Facebook, a way that you can signify that your group is like is a Smiling Homeschool group. It's not affiliated with us, but what it says is that we believe those things that you just talked about, Todd. We believe that, that home's best place, that mom's best teacher, that, every child's a masterpiece. We're not going to put pressure on the homeschoolers. We're going to keep it real and allow moms to talk, and so we're going to do like Good Sam's does, not Sam's like Sam's Club, but Good Sam's, which is a camping, RVing group of about 1 million campgrounds. And so what they do is they have, if you're the local, whatever, Lazy Days campground down by the river, if you fulfill their requirements or you're like them, you get a little stamp that says, hey, we're a Good Sam endorsed campground. We're going to do that. We're going to say, hey, we're a Smiling Homeschooler group. Again, it's not affiliated with it, but so that when if you're looking for a homeschool group, or you see somebody else who's looking for a homeschool group, and they see your little Facebook page or your little website, and they see that little icon, they'll know that you're a group that helps them smile. And that's what we want. Well, hey, we're out of time. I told you last week that we were going to interview Rachel Carmen. Obviously, we didn't. But next week, we're going to for sure. We're going to talk to Rachel Carmen, who is an author, a speaker, and a real mom. And she and her husband own Apologia. And I'm super excited to have her on our show. And we're going to talk to her and hear what her family's like. And we're not going to hear a bunch of platitudes. We're just going to hear about a real mom. And so have a great week. Again, if you're part of a co-op, you found a good thing, and if you're not, start looking. Or if you've got a group that you think, hey, we should get that little stamp, would you check out our website and check out the blog, and we'll have a little thing where you can copy that little icon and you can stick it on yours to let everybody know that that's a Smiling Homeschooler group. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week, and don't forget to we're going to cut that part out. We'll try that again, okay? Don't forget to keep smiling. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, I got to. Don't forget to quit smiling. I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try that end one more time. This is the beauty of editing. So have a great week, Mom, and don't forget to quit smiling. That's wrong.
Good grief.
Keep smiling. Keep smiling. I'll try one more time. Have a great week, Mom, and don't stop smiling. Okay. I should have asked her, do we have any questions out there, Ben?
I don't see any questions, but I saw Molly, who was actually the one who asked. She was the one who said we're taking a semester off because of a napping baby. She said, "Does anybody else out there feel like peer pressure as homeschooling families? Your kids must be involved in X, Y, Z, or you're doing it wrong." And a couple other people responded that saying yes all the time. And then Deborah said, "I'm going to plug Todd's book, Lies Homeschooling Moms Believe." Because she encourages other friends to read it because that addresses the feeling need to perform. And yeah, I just think, yes, you are not the only one by any means at all. I think that's super common.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's very common. It's very common. I just saw one of the comments says from Carrie. She says, "How do moms get time to talk?" If you're talking, Carrie, like in a homeschool co-op, you guys have to make the time. I would say I know what our group does, and it's a great group. They kind of rotate, so they'll have I think 2 or 3 things going at all of it at the same time. So there's a small group time, there's a game time, and there's a craft or teaching time, and it kind of rotates. So the moms are kind of doing a part of this group while there's a few of them are talking. So they're not all talking at the same time. And I think that makes it even more powerful because it's a smaller group. It's not everybody gathered together. And again, I think dads, if you're listening, or ladies, if you have a husband who might be able to play with the kids, out on the gym or out on the playground for 20 minutes, just so you moms could talk, I think that'd be a great thing that dad could offer. But in fact, that's really all we want from our co-op. We like all the other things. Those are all good things. But I like that my wife gets an opportunity to talk, not just about, not just shoot the breeze, but they're talking about struggles and how to deal with this child. And what do you like for math? Because this math just isn't working for us.
Yeah. Totally. So Scott Moore joined, by the way. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
He's coming.
He's checking out the competition.
That's right. Is he coming this weekend?
Yeah, he'll be at the rally. These guys stink.
Yeah.
Scott, he's starting a smear campaign.
He said, we have a comment here that said, we started mom's group time during a kids co-op class. We get to learn and fellowship, and we found it's a great support system. And then Carrie said, the one you answered, said, "Thank you. That is a great idea. My dad is a helper and is a great blessing." So that's awesome. We hope you can, or your kid's dad, your husband. We hope you can get something to get some of that time. But I mean, like, what aspect do you feel like it is that people are so, I'm going to use the word like judgmental in homeschooling? Like, I feel like even people who barely have even started, they're just thinking like you're ruining your kid over everything. And I don't know if it's in everything. Maybe it's in parenting in general, and maybe it's in work or whatever else. But I think it is extreme, and it always drives me nuts. Is even people I talk to who at conventions or something are just starting, and they're already talking about like, oh well, got to make sure my kid does this, and I don't know how you're going to do that, and they're just they just think they're gonna. Is it because they're afraid they're going to ruin them? So every other person is being judgmental about that, or whatever the wording is.
I think that I think again, it's like what we talked. I don't know which time. I think you ladies are especially prone, because I don't think your husbands would feel the same way. I think you ladies are especially prone to believe the lies. That Satan. I think he tempted Eve with, "Are you sure? Are you sure God really said that?" Are you sure you're not going to ruin your kids? Are you sure if you're doing this is going to be enough? And, it only takes one person to say not even a thoughtless comment. It's just a comment. And you take it as they're maybe judging you. Now, we're going to have a conversation maybe in a couple of weeks about just that. Because when I was over at our homeschool group, all the ladies were saying that whether it's family members or friends, they feel judged. And they feel like some of them are saying comments that show they are judging. How do we handle that? Criticism? We have some answers for that, but we're not going to answer them right now because then we wouldn't have a show.
Like a homeschool apologetics week sometime, and just talk about that, talk about the socialization, talk about I know a bunch of weird homeschoolers, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, we'll do that. We'll plan for that. A homeschool apologetics, or how to answer the critics, which I've thought about before. Because I've already seen a few comments on that too. We gotta go.
All right. Nope. That sounds good. Well, thanks everyone for watching. As always, we really appreciate it. Share this if it's encouraging to you. And again, if you are interested in having that smiling homeschooler kind of mission behind your group or a group you're part of, definitely go on the website. That should be up there. And also, again, follow the email. We have an weekly email that's just encouraging, real short. You can sign up for that at thesmilinghomeschooler.com. And other than that, I think that's everything. So thanks for joining us this week.
Before you go, don't leave yet. Give us a little tutorial because Mom was over. Maybe she had emailed me, and she goes, "Hey, you have it on iTunes, but I don't know how to get it off iTunes," because she had just been listening, on the website. Tell us the different, there are a couple different formats you can listen to a podcast, and for people who are podcast listeners, and maybe they're listening to it on a computer right now, because I'll hear Mom and I'll hear you and you'll go, yeah, I just turn on my thing and my podcast is up there. How does that magically happen?
Most people, it seems like, do use the iTunes podcast app, which is just a free app that I think it comes installed on your phone. You just search through that for the Smiling Homeschooler, and there's a button that says subscribe. Just subscribe to that. That's the easiest way because then it will automatically pop up on your phone and say, hey, there's a new episode. That's the easiest, most simple because you don't have to do anything. It's already built in. Otherwise, if you do it through the website or something like Podbean, then you have to listen to it through that service, which is probably less likely. And then on Android, they don't have necessarily just their built-in app that comes with it. Some people, at least people don't know about it usually, but there's services that are pulling from Google. There's lots of different podcast apps. All of those will automatically just search the Smiling Homeschooler, and they should show up there. If they don't, if you want to email us at ben@thesmilinghomeschooler.com, I can make sure we get it added on there. But whenever we add a new episode, it'll just automatically show up on those. Does that kind of answer your question? I don't know.
That's good. And then there, did you say anything about Google Play? Is that the same kind of thing?
Yeah, it's through there. Again, any other podcasting apps on Android should pull in from that automatically, and you should be able to get, any podcasts that are on there.
So when you sign up for ours on Google Play, it'll update itself every week.
Right. Let me see here if I can. Everything will automatically, if you subscribe to the podcast, you should always then get notified. And basically, you don't have to listen to it or anything, but it'll show up in your app, and then you can just play it and download it or whatever you want. So then if you're, running or whatnot, it will do it there. But everything should do it automatically, and it should be everywhere. So you don't have to go find it or something like that each time.
And they don't know this, Ben, but were you just flipping your knife?
Nope, I don't think so.
Or maybe about a minute or two ago?
No, I moved my mic. I don't know.
Okay. Because Ben has this habit. If you ever hear this, he always carries a pocket knife, and he has this habit of flipping it open. So if you hear that,
like that, right
there it is. There it is. If you hear that, you'll
drive
know.
My wife nuts. But it's hard to not do. So
okay.
But all right.
Okay.
Y'all
Goodbye.
Have a wonderful
everybody.
evening. Keep smiling.
Hey, do it.